Buongiorno, my darlings. Happy Friday. It's Friday in this world right now. So I came out of a healing and I feel just refreshed and vibrant and light, and I'm excited for today's little talk. As the title of the video states, we're talking about the villain. We're talking about the villain today and having reverence for the villain. And it's interesting because I wanted to get my little from Collins Street Library. If you know, you know. It's in Australia. It's in Melbourne. And I don't know why I say if you know, you know. It's from Collins Street, and it's just like the cutest little dictionary ever. So I wanted to read to you what the definition for reverence was. And in this little dictionary, it says awe mingled with respect and esteem. It's interesting because it's about 2 words away from revenge. So I thought that was really funny. So my intention for today's video is to give a little bit of possible validation for you. There's so much information that's becoming available in very mainstream ways about corruption, and this person I thought was so good and now that they're not so good, and how could that person do all these things? It's absurd. I'm also going to talk about the micro in our own lives, where we don't always have to forgive the villain in our lives. We really don't. And there's a great talk that Lewis Howes did, and I'll put the link to the podcast below, that this incredible woman, and speaking of narcissism and narcissist abuse, sometimes we as light workers, as God-fearing human beings, as people that are on a spiritual journey, or people that are leaders that speak from I statements, we can get caught up in needing to be the good guy and needing to forgive the bad guy in our story. What if we switched it up a little bit and we found reverence and gratitude, but we didn't have to forgive them because they did some crummy things? But we just kind of moved along with our lives. And we said, I'm a better person because of this really nasty thing that happened, because of the villain in my story. And I'm grateful for that. My intention is to give, how do I say, when we stoop to negative, if everything is energy, and our thoughts and our words and our actions and intentions are vibrational energy, and we know that when we stoop down to anger, to hate, or to revenge, we're going to the level of the villain. So if we can't forgive, then we got to go above it and find gratitude. Gratitude is such a high vibrational frequency. It helps change every little bit of your paradigm and dynamic. It really does. Really, stop this video right now and list 3 things that you're grateful for. I'll use Jeffrey because I'm grateful for Jeffrey. Pause the video. 3 things that you're most grateful for. And if you can't think of 3, think of 5. Truly, fingers and toes, the roof over your head, YouTube, electricity, coffee or tea, clean water, healthy body, a job that pays your bills, anything, your family members, your children, your community members, your cafe. So I'm really grateful for you. I'm grateful for YouTube. I'm grateful for the gym that I go to. I'm grateful for my body. I've really been detoxing so much. I had eye stuff and ear stuff and face stuff all going on last week, and I wasn't able to exercise, and I feel so grateful to have been able to go back to the gym today and to have that workout. So that's just a little aside. But so let's look at this in lenses. We'll speak of the micro first in our own lives, and then we'll speak of the macro in the mainstream, the more public view. And I want to try to do this in a little short video. But so when we think of the villain in our own lives, whether, we can go back to childhood and we had parents that were, had the narcissistic lens to them, or there was verbal abuse, there was, whatever type of trauma you've gone through, big T, little t, whatever it may be, think of how much, it's painful. It's painful. And, please go watch my entire Waking Up Post-Woke series, my human story, all these different things. I've gone, contacts with one of my parents. I'm not saying that oh, you're on your own on this one. Forgive the villain. No. I'm not forgiving. And I feel grateful because that Lewis Howes talk really changed my paradigm and perspective about forgiveness, because we can, how do I say, on Instagram, there's this soundbite where it talks about, when you go no contact with a family member, a parent, this is the lens of a parent, it can be so perceived like, but they're your parent. They're your parent. Instead of like, what could someone do to a child, regardless of how old they are, to make them actually go no contact? Like, the responsibility is always put on the child. The responsibility is constantly put on the youngster to fix the parent. And definitely, I have a video of respecting your elders, and it's definitely worth your time, where it's talking about our elders in our physical world. Yes, respect your elders, but your elders in soul world are the youngsters. Like, my teachers are the babies being born right now. Yeah, prove me wrong. Prove me wrong. They are telepathic AF. They change the world just by looking into your eyes. It's incredible. It's absolutely amazing. So I want you to think of when I say villain in your story, the biggest villain that you've got. And this could be, this could be someone that, if it's a parent, that maybe you've displaced it and you've had to deal with, like if the root was father issues, and then you've had a slew of really uncomfortable relationships that you thought that you were attracted to someone, but it was actually pretty Freudian. Or if it's, the root of the mother issue, and then you have problems with friends and females in your life, siblings. This could be a teacher that really like beat down on you. This could be a grandparent that took things out on you because, can't teach an old dog new tricks, and they're just old and set in their ways, and you're like, no, they're actually being pretty abusive and things like that. Or really any establishment, whomever the villain is from your past. Think of how efficiently you learned. It's kind of like when you put your hand on a flame when you're a kiddo, or you stick your finger in the electrical socket. You learned quick. Through pain, we learn quickly. So we must find gratitude for the efficiency of our lessons that we learned, and how dark we had to be, how far down into the dark we seemingly were to be able to come back into the light, So I find that perspective to be very, very helpful in hindsight. Because when we go quantum and we're healing past wounds and things like that, we cannot actually go back in time to fix the situation. We can only change our mindset around it, and we can only heal the mindset of going back to that wound and experiencing it so there's no more attachment to it. It's, very, Dr. Joe Dispenza does this work. I am not in any way making this isn't just my language. This is how you do past healing to heal your future and your trajectory, and not get stuck in the inner child or the inner adolescent and let them run the ship in the human avatar. What do you mean by any of that, Sarah? Have you ever asked like a grown adult, and I work in the service industry, so I can speak to this, where, I've had grown adults who don't eat vegetables, and you ask them about it or you make a comment about it, and they literally in split seconds regress back to the little kid. My mommy made me sit at the table and not leave until I ate the Brussels sprouts. I'm never eating Brussels sprouts again. Like, I see it on a regular basis. It's wildly fascinating. And they have no idea that the inner child that they didn't get to heal just shot up and just took over the human and then went back down again. So they're in there. The inner adolescent, I find when my inner teenager is writhing or running the avatar, I say things like, I don't want to go to work today. No. Nope. I'm just going to hop a paradigm. It's like, no, girl, like, be in what you're in and shoot forward and keep your mindset within gratitude. But yeah, you're working on calming your nervous system. You don't have to rush. So in our own lives, think of your villain. And if there is any verbal abuse, physical abuse, narcissistic abuse, gaslighting, in any of those things, we know we can't go back and communicate with these people in any way. My intention to offer you is recognize, where have you labeled your trauma on your lapel and said, no, this happened to me. Yeah, oh, no, they did this to me. Yeah, they did that to me. Whereas some of our deepest traumas, and I'll speak from my statements, how do I say? I'm so grateful for the experience. I used to really resent the people that did wrong to me and find so much anger towards them. But I know that it was to offer someone else validation. I know that now. So in hindsight, I don't forgive them. I don't forgive everyone in my past in any capacity. But I find gratitude for the contract, for the soul contract to say, I am a better woman because of that. And I'm so grateful that that's what we all decided to experience in this world, so that I could be a better person and I could up level and my soul could develop in new and exciting ways that if that did not happen, I don't even want to know what my trajectory would have been. I don't even want to know the timeline. I don't even want to look down that corridor at all. Yeah, so I'm so grateful for these experiences, not grateful for them, don't have to forgive them, but to find reverence for the role of the villain. Yeah. Think of your favorite archetype, your favorite villain. And I saw something the other day, I didn't watch it, but it was just like, there's so many villains that were right. It's an interesting, and who told us that they were villains and stuff like that. But now we're getting into the macro of it. So looking forward, and as light workers, as star seeds, as people that are awakened, you know the villains, you know who I'm talking about. And it's interesting to me because I find that I've said before, like, when the adult Disneys find out, they're gonna be pissed. You know, when certain groups find out that they've been sleeper celled and manipulated, they're gonna be pissed. And find anger. You know, anger is a really powerful tool, and I've spoken about anger many times. I have a short about anger, definitely worth your time. It's like 30 seconds or something like that. And I just want to offer preemptively a preview for any of you that think of so many of great fantasy stories or great sci-fi mysteries or any of these great hero stories. Usually the villain is the one that you think is the good guy, right? And so when you find out that it's the villain, it's like this, there's a lot of shame. Where you're like, I can't believe I got bamboozled. I can't believe that I fell for that. I can't believe that. And there's, you know, the Harry Potter parable of just, we can go with blinders on and kind of let our gut go off and be like the he's not back type thing, where you kind of know that something's wrong, or you kind of know that there's a little bit of bread and circus going on. You kind of know that there's a little bit of something's up over here. I don't really understand this, but that was pretty smooth, and that was pretty, am I getting bamboozled? Nah. And then one day something just hits, and you just get it. And something in your paradigm, you can't shake your phone and make it go away. You know, for me personally, I'm so grateful for President Trump, because the day that he got elected was one of the biggest like matrix glitches that I had ever received. And I was still in my very woke phase. And I literally just was shaking my phone, like trying to etch a sketch it away. I was like, this isn't real. This isn't real. And so if something like that happens to you, maybe it already has, maybe, you know, you stumble across this video in perfect time, I want you to really just say, wow, thank you so much for showing me the light. Thank you so much. And try your best. You know, like, feel the anger, feel the frustration, but don't let that take over your human avatar. Find gratitude. Yeah, there's no great story. There's no great hero story in this world that doesn't have a villain. It'd be boring if we didn't have the villain. It would be so blasé. It would be beige. It would be like, yeah, great story. Everything was fine. You kind of had a few things that went afoot. You stubbed your toe and you expressed gratitude for it, and all was well, and you woke up. No, that's not the fun way to do it. As human beings, we came to this third dimensional matrix. We came to experience this video game reality. And once you recognize it's a video game, once you recognize that it's a fugazi, the whole thing, you just are like, wow, look at that. Yeah. I'm hearing some of you say, like, there's war, Sarah, on this planet, and people are dying, and like, I understand that. And there's physically nothing that my human avatar can do about it, save meditate on a regular basis and send love and light and healing energy to everyone on the planet. And hope that everyone finds peace and that everyone finds sovereignty and that everyone is tended to. That's what we can do. That's what we can do. We can raise our vibration, express gratitude for what we do have, for the safety of the roof over our head, and meditate and pray as a collective for that experience. So I want you just to know, and just to time out, that like in no way am I unaware of what's happening. There's just nothing that my human can physically do. But in meditation, my thoughts, your thoughts, all of our thoughts are limitless. And the power of our minds, beyond, truly. There's loads of research about this. There is just loads of documentation about that intention. So I'll put the link to Pam Gregory's page. She speaks about this so much, and if you understand this language, you understand it. But if you're stuck in the adolescent and in the, maybe idealizing the villain a little bit or giving that power away, that's where you are, and I really respect that. So that's an amazing place to be. I've been there. I understand that. So to wrap it up, what I would love to offer to you is maybe look at a micro and a macro, and look at the villain, the biggest villain in your life, or the collection of villains, or the pattern of villains. I myself have had patterns of villains that I've created until I've learned certain lessons, and I'm very grateful for every single one of them. I know myself I've been the villain in many of people's stories, and that's amazing. And I just wish them so much healing. I wish every single person on this planet to find their sovereignty and to find their growth. And so as light workers, it's that phrase that I didn't make this up, but I love it. It's like you will trigger someone's light or their darkness. Either way, you're doing your work. Yeah, light workers are not, and I have a whole video on what is a light worker and why do they trigger me so much. Maybe I'll find that. I haven't. And because they're there to be your glitch. They're there to be your, what is a glitch? Like, that doesn't fit into the compartmentalization of my reality that I have decided it to be. It doesn't fit. There's no box for you to be put in. What is going on? They're there to show you that none of this is real. They're there to show you that you can create, and there's more foundations to this. It's like there's so much work that comes with this. You can't just be like, oh, I'm awake and now I can manifest at the drop of a dime. No, you got to process your stuff. But once you have that glitch, you have that experience of that's not right, then look at the micro. Where's the villain in my story, and how can I either find reverence or forgiveness? If you can forgive, that's amazing. Then move on. Forgive and forget. Like, if you still have that story that no, that person, they did this to me and it's labeled on my lapel, there's still an attachment there. So there's definitely still some gold nuggets for you to look at. I don't want the entirety of when you experience the macro to be so anger producing that you yourself become a villain. That's not for you. That's not for you. They are there to teach you in a very efficient way. They're the candle that you stuck your finger on to see what would happen, and you learned quickly. So see it and say, oh my gosh, thank you so much. I'm a better person now. I can move on. Thank you for taking on that soul contract, kind of like the egg theory, where you're the only one here. So when you see someone outside of yourself, you don't want to vilify them or demonize them. You want to say thank you. Thank you for taking on that soul contract so that my human doesn't have to experience that. It's a very Buddhist mentality. When you think something of another person, this is a Bob Proctor mentality, that thought has to hit you first. So in a very spiritual way, we're meant to wish what we want onto our enemies, onto the people that we have deemed to be the villains. Because if they're another you, then everybody prospering means that everybody prospers. Does that make sense? I think it's hitting. So once you have that micro view of the villain in your story, the repeated patterns and things like that, I want you to look in the macro view, in the big old wide world out there, and see where are some repeating patterns that have I, given my power away? Have I given my authority to an external force? Have I idealized a human being more than human, or a ideology, or a group, or a sports team? Is there something that I've given so much to? And see if there's maybe a parallel in there. See if maybe I want you to look at your shadow here and see, okay, if I really label the villain over here, where have I, created a God person? And do you see what I'm saying? Look at, this is both sides of the same penny. Both sides. Yeah, there are no gurus on this planet. There are no living gods. There are no ascended masters actually walking in physical form. In my practice and opinion, we are all guides. Everyone has an opinion. Everyone has something to offer this world. But and pardon my crassness here, but if you sit on the toilet and poop in the same way that I do, you are no guru. You are no guru. We ascend when we pass on from this planet, but that's just my opinion and perspective. So, is there anything else? I just want to check in with my higher self. Yeah, definitely do some journaling on this topic if you're interested, and just ask yourself, what does the villain role mean to me? What does the savior role mean to me? Go to the archetypes and look at maybe your favorite superhero story or your favorite fantasy story, and what were you really attracted to about it? Was it, Superman and he had Lex Luthor, or was it, the Avengers, and there was one big guy and then everybody had to come together and fight him together? Or, was it Two-Face? Was it really look at, was it, pardon me, Sauron and Saruman, Saruman the White. He was a bad guy. But, he was so revered and idealized as this, he was all-knowing. So we must trust the all-knowing. He had so much wisdom and so much knowledge. How could someone with knowledge and wisdom be a bad guy? Yeah, read some Tolkien. Harry Potter. Really, the whole thing. It's all built in. So definitely do some journaling on your own about this one. It's the full moon tomorrow, or really this is definitely some deep dive stuff to really look at the inner workings of yourself, the archetypes that you really understand, and how maybe actually for Pisces season, this is absolutely perfect. We're living in the etheric world as well as the third dimensional world. Think of when you close your eyes and how limitless your meditations are. Think of your dream space and how limitless that is. But we definitely chose to have some archetypes that work with us in human form. Please ask any questions. Let me know how you think about this and how can I best support you. As also, are there any topics that you're super duper interested in that I have not touched upon yet? Definitely comment that below or send me an email or a message, and I would be happy to do a little bit of my perspective on that. So I love you. I'll see you soon, my dears.